Hello, everyone. Hag Purim Sameach. It is Purim Shushan as I'm recording this, which is the second day of Purim, and it is the day of celebration and joy of the festival of Purim, where we have been released from the decree that we are going to be killed by our enemies. And so we have this festival of joy where everyone gets together and celebrates, and the joy increases, they say, in the month of Adar. And I have, it's a time when we read the story, the Megillah of Esther, and we also make cookies that are shape of triangles, which are supposed to symbolize the hat of the bad guy, but in fact, they are the delta of Venus, and they are filled with a delicious, luscious treat right in the center. So we're going to do a reading today. We're celebrating with some crowns and some ribbons. We have the black lace and the white lace, symbolizing maybe Queen Vashti, Queen Esther. And we're going to do a reading about Hamentaschen. And the Hamentaschen is, again, this triangular shaped cookie is generally filled with something delicious like jelly. It could be filled with poppy seed mix, or it can be filled with chocolate, some kind of delicious treat. I've seen them made out of like pizza dough and filled with pizza fillings as well this year. There's all kinds of varieties of Hamentaschen, but they are basically a cookie that is folded into a triangular shape. And some say, because it is a spring festival, it is a fertility cookie that represents, again, that delta of Venus, the lady parts that are so delicious and fertile at this time of year. And I had this inspiration today to talk about the Hamentaschen and how that plays out in our spring festival. And with that in mind, I have drawn a picture of a circle that one might cut out of dough if you were going to make a Hamentaschen. And we have the idea of something we're planting, the idea of what it is we are harvesting now, and then what it is we are releasing. And in the center, this idea of desire, hopes, and wishes. So we're going to do a reading based on these 4 principles, I guess 3 principles, and then the 4 in the center. And we're going to pull out some Hebrunes, and we're going to read about that today. And then we can fold up our cookie and ingest it however makes the most sense. So let's get started here. I'm going to pull out the Hebrunes, and we're going to mix them up, and we're going to see what, first of all, we are planting at this time. And I have the letter Tzadi, starting right at the top. Next will be, what is it we are harvesting? We have the letter Chet. And what is it we are releasing now? And we have the Ein Sof. Wow, fascinating. Okay, whoops. Everything is whoopsing. Okay, I'm going to use my little Hebrews book to reference my meanings today, and this new set of laser cut Hebrews. If you're interested in finding out more about those, you can check out my link below. But what is it we are planting right now? And I love this. We have the letter Tzadi, and as we know, if we've been following along, Tzadi represents righteousness, justice, all things that have that root of tzedek or tzadik or tzedakah in them. And it's fascinating because tzedakah, which is frequently translated as charity, but really more characteristically is about taking care of people who are in need. Mutual aid may be a better translation for it. Tzedakah is one of the principles that comes up during Purim, that we are encouraged to make baskets of food and deliver them to people who can use that food, give gifts to people who are less fortunate than we are at this time of year. And I love that tzedek and tzaddik and tzedakah are all here as the thing that we are planting right now. Tzaddik is someone who is a righteous person, and tzedek means justice, and tzedakah, as I said, means giving of resources to those in need. And tzadi is also the first letter of the word tzayid, which means to hunt, the hunt. So looking, searching in the world for aspects of righteousness, aspects of the divine as it exists on our planet. Some say that the tzadi looks like a bent over nun with a yud on its back. And nun is the letter that looks like this, sort of, and it means humbleness. And yud is the letter that looks like this, and it is the first letter of the divine name. So it's about being humble and carrying divinity with us wherever we go. I love that it's the number 90, and it's that ultimate manifestation of gestation. 9 is the 9 months of pregnancy. It's the letter tet, which begins the word tov, which means good. So you have this idea of gestating something that is good. And this is the 9, and then 10 times that is the tzadi. And 90 is the number that corresponds to the letter tzadi. And 90 is the number of years old that the matriarch Sarah was when she gave birth to Yitzhak, who has that tzadi in his name. And he grew up to be a righteous one. And it indicates that everyone, every child, has the potential for righteousness within them. So we have this ultimate manifestation of good and gestation, and that is the thing we're planting. Also, it corresponds to the tribe of Asher. Asher, who is one of the sons of Yaakov. He was the son of one of the handmaids of Leah, Zilpah. And Zilpah is said came from a different tribe than Israel and brought some of her own beliefs with her. And one of her belief systems may have been the belief in the goddess who dwells within the trees, Asherah. And so it may have been reflected in her son, Asher, which means happy. But it can also reflect that goddess name, Asherah, who is where divinity resides within the plant life, within the trees of our planet, where that fertility, that fecundity exists within all life on the planet. So I love that Asherah is here with us as well, that we are planting trees, possibly. We are planting righteousness, we are planting justice, and we are planting mutual aid amongst our people. This is the letter that corresponded to the previous month of Shavat, where we celebrated the birthday of the trees. So we've done some planting, or we've counted some trees in the last month, and here we are in Adar, moving forward, having done that planting. I love that. Here we are planting justice in our world. And that which we are harvesting right now is represented by the letter chet. And chet is the letter that begins the word chai, which means life. The letter chai, chet, and the letter yud makes up the number 18, which is this magical letter, magical word and magical number meaning life. Chet is the number 8, and so it represents that sense of infinity, 8 being one more than 7, 7 being the number of days of creation. So we have this idea of the infinite that we are harvesting right now in our world. Life and the infinite. It also is the first letter of the word choshek, which means darkness. And again, darkness is not a bad thing. It's just the opposite of light. And we need both to have wholeness in our life. So this idea that we may be looking at our shadow, maybe harvesting some of the things that we have been struggling with right now in our shadow selves, and coming up with life out of that wholeness, the darkness which gives way to the light and also represents that wholeness of life, and the infinite that makes up all things. It is the foundation of speech, so perhaps we're harvesting some of the seeds that have been planted by words that we've set in motion. It's virtually impossible to take back words that we've begun speaking. So maybe some things we've planted may be good things, or maybe dark things possibly that we said maybe in anger or frustration. We're harvesting those now. 8 is that that infinity, this idea of also it looks like a marriage canopy. So and the first letter of that word chuppah is het. So we have this idea of contracts and covenants that have come. So maybe we've made some contracts, we've entered into some kind of agreements, and we are harvesting the fruit of that, whether it be good or evil. I love that het is here as our harvest letter. For me, in my understanding of how these correspond to the tarot cards, het equals the devil card. And the devil is all about attachments and commitments and limitations and restrictions, but also pleasure. Perhaps we're harvesting some pleasure now as something that we have planted in the past. And the devil isn't, again, necessarily a bad card, same as darkness isn't a bad concept, but it does speak to that idea of being a little restricted or being tied down, but also can come with the need for release. And this idea in Purim where we just let go and let wild is that idea of letting a little bit of the devil in so that we can enjoy ourselves, not being so tied down to what we perceive other people think of us. So this is our harvest, the het right now. And as for what we are releasing, and I bring release into this reading because when we have gone through Purim and read that story, we have this idea that we've been freed. We've been freed and given our lives back, given our high back and our lives back, but we have to release something as well. Whenever we move forward, we have to set some things down. And interestingly, the letter that we have here in the position of what we're releasing is Ein Sof. It's the blank. It means the void, the unending, the tohu vavohu, that time before time, the primordial chaos, the deep and darkest parts, the infinite, that which came before creation, the time before time. So we can interpret this in a myriad ways. We have this idea of release of nothing. We're not releasing anything, that we get to keep everything we have, or that we're releasing everything, that maybe it's time to give everything up, to give up the understanding that we have control over anything, that it's time to just give up and say, okay, universe, okay, divine, we are powerless maybe in this situation, whatever it is. We have to release everything unto the divine so that we can come through and plant that justice, harvest life, and release everything once we've done that. I love that here. That there's something about fate and destiny that we are releasing here. That our fate is not in our hands, and we need to release the idea that it is. And I'm going to pull out one more Hebrew for the center here, and that center, like I said, is about hopes and desires and wishes that we have. And we have the letter Samech. I love that too. Okay, so Samech is the letter that represents a circle. So it's about time, about cycles, about the wheel of the year. You can see it looks a little bit like a circle, but it's the beginning of the word sovev, which means surround. And that could be about being surrounded with protection, about being surrounded with boundaries, and setting ourselves up for comfort and support, and just acceptance of the fact that things change, that time goes around, that the wheel of the year turns, that the moon changes in its cycles. And since we are at the full moon, I love that we have this the symbol here of the cycles and this roundness of the full moon as well. It is the letter that also corresponds to the foundation of agitation within the Sefer Yetzirah. Each of the letters are connected to some sort of foundation or transformation. And Samech is the foundation of agitation. And you can see that there's a little bit of on the upper left, a little bit of a thorn there, because in the Paleo Hebrew, Samech was a thorn, and it talked about that protection that one gets from thorns, but also an agitation. So if you surround your home or yourself or your field with thorns, it will keep out predators and it will keep in your flocks, but it may also keep you in, and it may keep out a friend. So you need to be aware of where your boundaries are, what they are made out of, if they are permeable, and who you are letting in and who you are leaving out. So it's about this, a culmination of all these things. What have we planted? What are we harvesting? What are we releasing? And what are the boundaries that are left here in the center as this hope, wish, and desire that we may have better boundaries now as we move forward, that we may be able to accept the wheel of the year, the wheels and cycles and circles that happen in our lives, because we come back to things that seem familiar, as if we've been here before, that we've come back to the exact same place. But because time moves forward, we are never in exactly the same place. Something has changed. It's not a circle, it's a spiral. And ideally, we're spiraling out and up into what we are intended to be, rather than just circling around and around in the same old rut. So I love that Samech is here in our center place to remind us that as we search for and plant justice, and as we harvest life and darkness from our shadow self, and as we release our attachment to everything, basically, we are coming into a fulfillment our hope and wish and desires to have better, more stable boundaries. And with all of that, we come together with our planting, our harvesting, our releasing, our hopes, wishes, and desires, and we fold those all together, and we have our triangle cookie, our Hamentaschen, with the fruit in the center here. And then once, you can do this project at home if you want to write down those things which you are planting, harvesting, releasing, what your desires and hopes are. Fold that up. You can take that with you. Plant it in your garden. Set it on fire if you want, or eat it. It's your cookie. Do what you want with it. But maybe it will help you with a ritual to come to some kind of completion over this full moon cycle as we release and move back toward the new moon. And in 1 month, we'll be at Passover, which is terrifying and exciting, and all the things that come with time moving forward. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everyone who likes and subscribes to this channel. If you're interested in learning more about the Hebrunes, please do check out my link below in the description, and we will see you here next time. Hag Purim Sameach.